How do you do it? What's your secret?
Less than ethical business practices, monopolizing the market, and shady advertising campaigns. Well, it may surprise you that the most famous fast food franchise on the planet has been accused of doing some of these very things. So, is McDonald's evil? What do you think? The Golden Arches has been the first job many folks land right after high school or on a part-time basis while still in school. Yes, becoming a full-fledged McDonald's employee is almost a rite of passage for a lot of teens. Working with your friends, getting that sweet discount on food, and being able to make things you'd never find on the menu are all things to look forward to when first starting to work for the biggest franchise in the world. However, not everything is golden over at the Golden Arches when it comes to employment, as good old Mickey D's has been known to be a less than ideal working environment. McDonald's has faced allegations of unfair labor practices for some time now. At the top of the list is low wages. It's hard enough to get by right now with inflation being as high as it is and the cost of living skyrocketing just about everywhere. So having to face these issues with a ridiculously low wage is almost impossible. The average wage for a McDonald's employee in America is around $13. If you're Canadian, you're doing a little better, as the average wage at a Canadian McDonald's is a little over $16. Another issue is inadequate benefits. Employers can sometimes justify low wages if they set their employees up with decent benefit packages. However, the benefits at McDonald's, while including discounts, insurance, and retirement plans, have been criticized by employees as being unsatisfactory. These problems, combined with claims of overall poor working conditions for its employees, paints a less than stellar picture for McDonald's as a workplace. Another thing that McDonald's has come under fire for is their marketing methods. Marketing and fast food are pretty much synonymous, especially when it comes to targeting the all-important target demographic, kids. Most, if not all, the major fast food franchises have at least one ad campaign targeted at kids. BK has their cartoonish Burger King character, and both Wendy's and Burger King offer up meals that promote the latest kids' movies every now and then. However, the undisputed king of fast food advertising targeted at kids is undoubtedly McDonald's. You don't have to look any further than their beloved red-headed mascot, Ronald McDonald, to see that the chain has been targeting kids with bright colors and the toys featured in the iconic Happy Meal. While ads aimed at kids are nothing out of the ordinary, it's nonetheless frowned upon. The company's been accused of targeting children with its advertising strategies, using toys and playgrounds to attract young customers, potentially influencing their dietary choices negatively. A potent cocktail of the latest movie toys combined with a fun-filled play place, all while a massive food rush waits for them when they're finished having fun, seems like a child's paradise. However, those kids may not feel that way when they grow up with diabetes and possible heart and weight issues.
But I'm healthy besides the diabetes. No.
Now, from questionable advertising tactics to questionable livestock practices. Pretty much everyone loves animals, from the fluffy cat curled up in a ball at the end of your couch to the lovable dog nestled at your feet when you go to sleep. Animals can melt hearts. Unfortunately, whether we like to think about it or not, almost all of our favorite fast food joints use animal products. This, of course, makes sense, as most people out there are meat eaters. However, despite how troubling it may be for some to think of where that burger came from, it gives folks peace of mind when their favorite fast food product is at least dealt with or processed in the most humane way possible. The animal's living conditions before processing is also of the utmost importance to many. Sadly, McDonald's hasn't been a beacon of hope when it comes to their livestock. McDonald's has faced scrutiny over its sourcing practices, with reports suggesting inadequate animal welfare standards in its supply chain. While McDonald's has stated to be committed to stopping livestock cruelty back in 2012, the chain has been called out by the HSUS, Humane Society US, for not fully committing to their promised end to inhumane practices toward their livestock, specifically pregnant pigs. As of 2020, the biggest burger chain received an F grade as a result. The brand has also been criticized for its poor stables and living conditions for its Brazilian livestock suppliers. The brand that mastered the Happy Meal might need to do more to improve their livestock's and customers' happiness. There's no doubt that the big franchises have gone a long way in shaping pop culture. Brands like Nike are no longer just a shoe. The brand has become an identity. In many ways, it says something about who you are. If someone says they're heading to Starbucks or Taco Bell, chances are you know exactly what they're talking about. Yes, the franchises have cemented themselves firmly in the cultural zeitgeist, and it shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone that McDonald's is right up there at the top of the list. The biggest burger chain of them all is probably just as identifiable as your nation's flag. Many children are able to name Ronald McDonald before identifying Jesus, as the Super Size Me doc demonstrated. That's the kind of impact the brand has had on not only Western culture, but all over the world. However, this impact has led critics to point the finger at McDonald's and stating that there may be more of a negative impact to their global cultural immersion. The global expansion of McDonald's has been linked to the spread of Western consumer culture. This has, in some cases, led to undermining local food traditions and contributing to cultural homogenization. The great thing about the world is the vastly different cultures that help make every country unique. But with the popularity of McDonald's around the world only growing, it could mean the end of tasty, exotic food and interesting culture, and a life of eating Big Macs and McNuggets. If you're enjoying this video, then take a second to hit that like button before we move on. Thanks. Now, where were we? Oh yeah. Okay, McDonald's didn't always have such a cultural impact. Once upon a time, the giant franchise that is McDonald's started out as a small burger stand in California. And just like the founding McDonald brothers, every business owner wants their baby to become big and profitable. Small businesses are the backbone of a strong economy and can cater to both a niche and general clientele. When those mom-and-pop shops become giant franchises, it's a win for just about everyone. That is, of course, unless that former small business becomes a big business and then tries to make other startups and mom-and-pop shops obsolete. The presence of McDonald's restaurants is said to have a negative impact on small local eateries, potentially leading to reduced diversity in local food options. No one out there is saying they don't want a McDonald's in their town, but if the price to pay for a Big Mac is at the cost of the small local establishments, most find that a hard pill to swallow. Part of being a good corporate citizen is paying your fair share of taxes. Okay, despite the fact that most folks hate them, taxes are a necessary part of modern society. Without taxes, roads would remain scattered with potholes and infrastructure would stagnate. So we all grin and bear the tax-paying process because it's necessary. And if you don't, you can get hauled away to prison. That's some serious motivation. Now, if most of us had a ridiculous amount of money in our bank accounts, then paying taxes wouldn't be that big a deal. So, big multi-million corporate brands should be perfectly fine with paying taxes. Well, we all know that the more money you have, the less taxes you seemingly want to pay. And businesses are right at the top of that list, with McDonald's being front and center. The world-famous franchise has been implicated in tax avoidance strategies, utilizing complex corporate structures to minimize tax liabilities in various countries. Or, in other words, McDonald's likes to do everything they can to avoid paying their fair share.
All I want is my fair share.
From taxes to McDonald's questionable pay structure, is there anything else to know about the chain's other labor practices? Well, unfortunately, they don't fare very well either. Recent reports have highlighted labor rights violations within McDonald's supply chain, including poor working conditions and exploitation in supplier factories. The franchise has faced major accusations regarding the ethical treatment of livestock on the part of their suppliers. To make matters worse, the chain suppliers have been accused of worker exploitation and even forced labor within supplier factories. Another potential accusation is that the chain has even been involved in convict leasing, a practice that sees incarcerated men and women allegedly forced to work for low wages. The issue of ethical labor practices is always a hot-button topic, and for good reason. However, McDonald's maintains that it strictly prohibits any form of involuntary prison labor as well as other unethical labor practices. It's time to picture Ronald McDonald going to Washington. Politics is a complicated and sometimes shady game. Let's just call it what it is. The more money a person or company tends to have, the easier it is to have things go your way.
It's amazing. A big and tasty for just $1?
It's like a having friends in high places kind of thing. As slimy as that is, it's a fact in politics with multi-million-dollar corporations always finding their way to Capitol Hill to have things move in a more advantageous direction. Sorry, allegedly. Sadly, the fast food world has been accused of taking part in these practices, with McDonald's among the most glaring. McDonald's has been accused of leveraging its financial power to influence political decisions, lobbying against policies that could negatively affect its profitability, such as health regulations and wage increases. If true, these allegations mean that the family-friendly, instantly recognizable franchise has been sneakily using its leverage to ensure that its workers' wages stagnate, while letting healthy food standards and practices slide.
I am the danger.
Not a good look for McDonald's. Then there's the environmental impact of all those Big Macs. One thing most people can agree on is that there's only one Earth, and once it's gone… With that in mind, it's important that we all do our part to lessen our impact on the environment. Recycling, lessening our carbon footprint, and putting an end to personal litter all go a long way in keeping our planet clean and healthy. Businesses, including restaurants, have a far larger impact on the environment, of course, and have a larger responsibility to keep up with proper environmental practices. So with McDonald's being the biggest food franchise on the planet, you'd think the brand would be prudent with their environmental practices. However, you'd be wrong. Let's start with the chain's impact on forests. The company's operations have been criticized for contributing to deforestation, especially in the Amazon and Brazil's Pantanal wetlands. The deforestation doesn't stop in Brazil, as the brand has also contributed to deforestation across the pond in Europe. The clearing of these ecosystems is to raise cattle and produce soy. Adding to the list of environmental irresponsibility for the brand is excessive waste production. This excessive waste produced by McDonald's has increased greenhouse gas emissions, raising concerns about the brand's environmental footprint. McDonald's has always been an innovator in the fast food industry, so how hard should it be to apply that innovation to the chain's environmental practices? Now that we looked at the environmental impact, what about the health impact? Healthy eating is a practice that most of us try to follow, but it's not as easy as it seems. If you have an overloaded schedule, along with kids, trying to maintain a healthy diet for your family can be close to impossible. That's why many turn to their local fast food chain for a quick and easy meal for the family.
You never turn your back on family.
At this point, we know that when it comes to health and fast food, the two usually don't go hand in hand. However, that does not mean the chain has zero responsibility in trying to lessen the negative impact its food has on its customers. McDonald's menu has been associated with promoting unhealthy eating habits, contributing to obesity and related health issues for decades. A larger issue stems from the high levels of fat, sugar, and sodium in its food items. While delicious, a diet consisting of the brand's high-calorie processed food can lead to a laundry list of ailments. You don't have to look much further than the Morgan Spurlock documentary Super Size Me to see what impact eating McDonald's for just a month can have on the body. The franchise has been offering healthy menu alternatives for years now. However, the big menu stars like Big Macs and fries are still the #1 sellers. Delicious? Yes. But is McD's worth the extra risk of heart disease and diabetes? Just like a McD's drive-thru, we're serving up great videos 24/7. So just tap or click to check out one more.